Welcome to No Stats, where we call it how we see it.
Back again with another one.
With another one, Blake.
And another one, baby.
Yes, sir. Before we jump into today's topic, as always, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe.
Please.
Send it to a friend. Have that friend send it to a friend. You know, hit that button, hit that bell. We're going to keep flooding y'all with content, doing our thing. So keep showing that love.
Watch the handle, it takes skill. We got to run it back. We in the field, and you said it, Jason Tatum. You in your field, we looking for the facts. Let's keep it real, yeah, we talking no stats. Yeah, we talking no stats. Yeah, we talking no stats.
Savage is NBA offseason, bro. I keep saying that, man. And every other day it's something going down, man. It's the best time of the year outside of playoff basketball. And the draft just wrapped up tonight. We'll get more on that tomorrow. But free agency is looming. It's gonna start up soon. I think July 5th. I think maybe like the last day for teams to start signing new players. But anyways, we had a couple crazy trades pop off in the last couple days. We had Marcus Smart getting traded to the Memphis Grizzlies in a 3-team trade that sent Kristaps Porzingis to the Celtics, which I call. Let me get my little tally.
You called that one. You called that one.
It's sending Tyus Jones to the Washington Wizards. So right. I just want to hear some of your thoughts on this trade, the situations, and how each of these teams can benefit from their pickups.
Before I jump into it, Boston also got a first-round pick out of that too, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I think Boston also got a first-round pick out of that. So
they did. They did.
Yeah, first to start with Boston, I like the addition of Porzingis. I think a lot of times last year in the playoffs, even though they were successful with doing it during the regular season and throughout most of the playoffs, I thought they played small ball a little too much with Al Horford. Sometimes Robert Williams is a liability on the offensive end, so he was forced to come off the floor. He kind of slows them down at points. You don't really have to count for him on the offensive end. You can help off of him if he's not in the paint, which kind of handicapped Boston at certain points. I think Porzingis. And I just want to give Porzingis his flowers. Let's take away the Porzingis that got drafted to the Knicks and was supposed to be the savior. And let's just look at him he's a journeyman at this point, right? He's a good role player, but he was averaging like 23 and 9 for Washington and efficiently. So I think offensively, and he could block some shots, so he can deter some shots.
And he has the confidence to go and get those blocks. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Some people don't want to get dunked on. KP gonna rise, man.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. And don't kill me for this, but he's a poor man's Wemby, right? When he came into the league, everybody thought he was a unicorn because he could shoot it, he could put it on the floor, he could block shots, deter shots. What is he, 7'2"? Mm-hmm. So that was the outlook on him. Now with him not having to be the first option like he was supposed to be in New York, or the second option like he was supposed to be in Dallas to Luka. Now he can come in with Jason Tatum, with Jaylen Brown, with Derek White, and I think this is a knock to the Celtics franchise, and I think they're ready to make Derek White that third best player because he took a huge leap this season. Originally, the trade was supposed to be for Malcolm Brogdon, and that fell through. I think because of some injury or some medical
issues.
And they had a deadline to reach that by midnight of the 21st, and they ended up throwing Marcus Smart in the deal. Now, quickly, I want to hear your thoughts. But the Marcus Smart addition on Memphis makes sense a little bit. I know they're not signing Dillon Brooks back, and he was that energy, that fiery player. So now you replace him with Marcus Smart, a guy that can defend, a guy that can bring energy to your team, a guy that's has won at a high level, an experienced vet, and also now you got the last 2 defensive player of the year on Memphis. My problem with that is I think you need a little more scoring. We spoke about that a bunch of times. You got Ja, you got Desmond Bane. Who's that next guy? I don't think Memphis is done, but you lose Tyus Jones, who we gave a lot of props to a couple times as well. So you got to replace some of that shot making. Marcus Smart can knock down some open threes, knock down some big shots. He can score, but he's not technically a shot creator. So I like that. I like the Boston addition more, Porzingis. But I think Jason Tatum has to take that next step, man. I think Boston keeps trying to give him the keys and put that faith in him. And he needs to play better than what he did in that. Although I know he got hurt in Game 7, but in that Miami Heat series.
The stretches as it goes down, like when they make them deep playoff runs, they need him to finish because they're getting there, but they're just falling short every time.
Yeah, agreed, bro. And then lastly, the Tyus Jones to Washington. I know Washington has been doing a lot of different
Unloading.
things. Yeah. So and we're gonna talk about the other move that they did shortly. But I like Tyus Jones. I don't know what role they'll have him in. They drafted your guy out of France, Bilal. Yeah, they drafted him.
Mr. 6'8", 3-and-D.
Yeah. So I don't know what the plan is for Tyus, if he'll have the same role as he had in Memphis, but we'll see what Washington does as the rest of the offseason and free agency unfolds. But what did you think, bro? Let me hear your thoughts.
So first off, KP to the Celtics, I absolutely love it. I love how Boston was able to keep Al Horford. They was able to keep Robert Williams at the expense of, letting go of Marcus Smart. But I think Marcus Smart and Malcolm Brogdon are your most valuable pieces that you can trade where you won't teeter off as much because of the elevated play of Derek White. I think Peyton Pritchard is going to see more time now because he has that dog in him. And I think the guys around him, like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, them head guys, they definitely got to step up this year, get more efficient, cut the turnovers down, keep that ball moving, don't let it stick when they get into these playoff series and they get back to that gimmick ball. But Kristaps Porzingis is going to take a lot off of them because they can now throw the ball in the post and have a guy that can actually go out there and get his. Porzingis could be 20 and 10 on some nights. He's going to hit 3 threes. This opens up a lot of things for Boston. I'm interested to see how they incorporate Porzingis in the lineup, in this system. Joe Mazzulla with a second year under his belt. Man, Boston poised for another run, man. They was able to keep things intact. So, now, Memphis, this is a intriguing one because I think they was able to kind of replace Dillon Brooks, but in a more, I don't think Marcus Smart is going to draw as much negative attention as Dillon Brooks would draw. No, not at all. But he's going to go out there and he's going to match up with your LeBrons. He's going to match up with the Dame Lillards. Take some of that, extended energy off Ja Morant. I'm a little skeptical about the shooting in the backcourt, but I think with Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson able to shoot it, I think this is a good move for Memphis, low key. You also have a guy now that you could start for those 25 games that Ja Morant is going to be out. And I think Memphis could, we was just doing a take on this, I think Memphis could win, 13 or 14 games now guaranteed with having a guy like Marcus Smart. Washington getting Tyus Jones it's crazy, and I know we're gonna get to the Jordan Poole trade, but this is an interesting backcourt. With the poise and the patience with
this Washington love.
Come on, look. The poise and the patience with Tyus Jones. He's never a guard that's too fast or too slow. He's right in between, can control the offense. And then you have an explosive scoring guard in Jordan Poole that can go out there and get you 30 on some nights. You sign Kyle Kuzma, got Bilal. I'm not saying that they're gonna win 30 games, but they're gonna be interesting. So since we're already on it, let's shift gears. Yeah. The Chris Paul Jordan Poole trade. With Golden State also included Ryan Hollins in that trade, and I think a second round pick. I'm not exactly sure, but
yeah, me neither.
What was your thoughts when the trade initially went down? Because I know I had text you, and we was talking about Golden State, going all in on for Draymond. and making that move because they want to re-sign Draymond. So elaborate a little bit more on what you meant by that, bro.
So with Draymond Green opting out of his contract, he wants a bigger payday. He thinks he's worth more. He knows what he brings to that dynasty, that franchise, and what he's been. Steph Curry's amazing, right? When it's all said and done, if not now, he's the top 10 player of all time. Arguably the best point guard of all time, greatest shooter we've ever seen. But Draymond has consistently put that battery in his back, and I'm not trying to give Draymond credit for Steph Curry's talent or his productivity and performances over these years, but Draymond has a lot to do with that culture and the way Curry and Clay have that confidence in the way that they play. So I think Draymond understands that. And we knew from the beginning of the season that this Jordan Poole thing wasn't going to work. Somebody had to go. Yep. Right. And that's why I was leaning Draymond, because Jordan Poole had just got that big contract. I think this is, 2 years ago he got that big extension?
He got it last year.
Right.
After the finals. Year.
Right. He got that big extension. So I thought it would be Draymond. I didn't see this coming with Jordan Poole. So I think when Draymond opted out, it forced Golden State's hand to say, all right, we got to unload some money. So then they went to Washington, who was going to drop Chris Paul. This is a whole, just moving around money to make sure you can sign some players. And they made that trade and pulled the trigger. Now, I don't know what Chris Paul's financial situation looks like on his contract. Because there's a lot of talk. When you text me, my initial thing was Chris Paul be waived and they'll sign Draymond. I've seen some chatter that's looking like Chris Paul said he talked to Steph and he excited to go over there and help them win some games. That threw me off. I don't know. I haven't fully wrapped my mind around Chris Paul coming off the bench.
It's the fit and all that shit too.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Are we going to see Chris Paul and Curry in the game at the same time? I think that's a defensive liability. I don't know. I'm still sticking with my initial instinct that Chris Paul will be waived. And they'll re-sign Draymond Green and figure some things out in free agency.
I think they test it out, bro, to see how it looks. I think, and it took a while for this to marinate with me, but you keep your starting five kind of intact. Now you get you got the clean energy out the room. You still got Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, Looney, whichever you want to do. If you want to start Kuminga, and now off the bench, you got Chris Paul. Which is going to be very weird for him to take on this role. But I think at this point in his career, it's something that he might have to consider. He's done a lot for the game already. I don't think he loses any points by coming off the bench. And it's something that we just seen Russell Westbrook go through with the Lakers with the fit. So it's something that, now you got a point guard that could come in now and he can control that bench tempo. He's a veteran and you got to deal with that shit now with Curry coming to the bench. Two different stylistic point guards. That's
Can I make
a
note real fast on Chris Paul?
What?
Before the playoffs, when KD got traded to the Suns, I said, I don't want people to think this is a big three. It's KD and there's Booker. Chris Paul is not the same Chris Paul. He's an aging superstar, and now he's on the bench on the team. So can we just acknowledge that Chris, my correct prediction of Chris Paul or analyst. I just think this is, and there's nothing wrong with it. This is what happens with aging superstars. Listen, LeBron James is a dinosaur, bro. He's an anomaly. He's a dragon. He's a wizard. He's an alien. It's something we've never seen before. Seriously, bro.
He's a Saiyan.
Bro. Everything else, everybody else, from the Westbrooks to the Carmelo Anthonys to the Dwayne Wades. Let's not forget about Dwayne Wade in Chicago and in Cleveland, to the Chris Pauls, to the everybody you can think of. There's a very, very select few that stays at the peak of their game for their entire career. So it's not a knock on Chris Paul. It's just about that time. He's not the same guy. Steph Curry, ironically, said it. Was it this year? It's not 2014 no more.
He was keeping it a bean because it's not.
Yeah. So, but quickly, I want to talk about Washington and Jordan Poole. I think Jordan Poole has the light is going to be so green that it's going to be blue.
39 shots a game.
Yeah. I think
39.
I think this is Jordan Poole's chance to I think he'll, and this is going to be a bold take, but I think he'll compete for the scoring title, bro. I think they're going to put the ball. I don't think Kuzma resigns. I think they're going to put the ball in Jordan Poole's hands. I think they're going to try to rebuild this thing. It's going to be ugly. Like you said, I don't think they're going to get 30 wins. I can see 27, something like that. They'll be back. They'll be in the lottery with a top 10 pick next year, but Jordan Poole will have his chance to shine and score as many points as he can. I could see a 50 ball. I think it's going to be exciting to watch Jordan Poole just go off. But as far as team success, that'll be non-existent.
I'm just going to say this. Jordan Poole deserves his own team, especially at this point in his career. I don't think he would have ever reached his full potential. And we haven't seen what he's done yet, but I don't think he would have ever reached his full potential playing behind Steph and Clay for the next 3 to 4 years. I think you kind of stunt that. You only get small sample sizes to really go out there and make the necessary mistakes, have those moments with the ball in your hand, time running down, team on your back. You know, you got to make a decision right now. And I think Poole is ready for this moment. He deserves it. And we need to start taking our bids now on what's the point per game average for Jordan Poole. Y'all can drop that in the comments. I'm going with 27.8 points a game.
I like that prediction.
4.5 assists, 3 rebounds. Can I get a steal, Savage? Can I get a steal?
I'm going 28 points, 3 assists. I don't think he passing that pill that much.
He ain't passing it. We're going to have Tyus Jones for that, John.
Yeah.
Oh,
he
man.
letting that thing fire. But real quick, before we wrap up this episode, Boston, favorite in the East? They're the favorite moving forward? With the addition of Porzingis?
See, if Milwaukee had re-signed Brook Lopez, I will be leaning more towards Milwaukee. But I am gonna say Boston. Right now at this very moment, I'm gonna say Boston. But don't be surprised, and I'm not saying that these teams are gonna be first in the East, but I think the Orlando Magic will be better. I think the Detroit Pistons will be better. I
just asked you, is the Boston Celtics going to be the best team in the East? And you bring up the Orlando Magic and the Detroit Pistons.
Look, I just had to do it to you. Steph doesn't like no teams that are out of this, that 16 or lower. They're irrelevant to Savage.
No, they're not irrelevant, bro. But until you get a franchise changer like Milwaukee did when they got Giannis. Before Milwaukee got Giannis, I didn't care about Milwaukee.
But we didn't even know Giannis was gonna be Giannis.
We didn't, bro. But you know, until I see that change. But I want to know how these teams, the teams that. I'm not asking about Washington. We touched on them. But I want to know how Boston's going to do. I want to know if they're the favorite in the East. I want to know how Memphis is going to do. Do you think they'll be better than they were last year? Can they still get a top 3 seed with Ja Morant coming back? Now they got Marcus Smart. The West is kind of tough. Do you see Memphis being a better team?
I think they'll be better. I think, with Ja Morant going through what he went through, I think he's going to come back and really cement himself. Have a new outlook on the game, outside of the game, and then you mentally grow through these. He's gonna grow from the situation that he went through, and that's gonna initially take Memphis to that next level. They went out in the playoffs, all the shit that transpired last year. Then you got the injuries to Steven Adams, the injuries to Brandon Clark. I think when you get those two guys back, this ball club has been brewing for some time now. When you have a unit like that and you go through your growing pains, you finally eventually get over that hump. Now that hump sometimes isn't initially a championship, but you make those conference finals runs. You get that finals bid, just from situations from what they went through. So, hey, man.
Now, you don't think Morant coming back is going to be a distraction, right? Because the whole season, if not the whole season, at least until All-Star break, is going to be about Ja Morant. Ja Morant's out. He's coming back 10 games till Ja Morant returns. Ja Morant returns. Press conference. What's going on, Ja Morant? How do you feel? Ja Morant going to get back in trouble? Can Ja Morant turn back into, the face of the potential face of the league? It's going to be a lot of media, a lot of talk, and a lot of expectations. Do you think they have enough veteran presence and a strong enough coach and culture to withstand that? Because I don't think one player alone, i.e. Marcus Smart, can
do that.
Bring that.
So one, I think they have the culture. Two, I think they have the coach. Big fan of Taylor Jenkins and his philosophy. And I think when you outside of Marcus Smart, you still got Steven Adams. And I think the guys around them are slowly becoming. I think Jaren Jackson could become more vocal. He has a defensive player of the year under his belt now. So that's just going to boost his confidence. And like I said, you have to grow from things. When you come into that new season, it's like a breath of fresh air. And they're going to go through, and it comes with it. What Ja Morant did, this is going to still go, but you have to slowly digest this situation and eventually move on from it. But they have to embrace it. They can't continue to sweep it under the rug, let it linger. The media is going to be the media. You look at it like the Ben Simmons situation. I think if Ben comes back and he hoops, the attention will come off Ben. Same thing with Ja Morant. If Ja comes back, he hoops, Memphis starts rolling, him and Memphis could move past the situation. Just something that they have to deal with right now.
Got you. And last team, Golden State. Can they get back into, championship territory? And I say back into, they've really been in championship territory. But with this move, if they do hang on to Chris Paul, re-sign Draymond Green, do you see them as a top 3 team in the West and potentially coming out of the West and dethroning the Nuggets?
I can't really answer that right now, bro. To be completely honest, I don't think so.
I was about to say, it sounded like a no.
Yeah, I don't know. Like with the, Clay is gonna, I don't know. Clay's due for an extension soon again. I don't think Golden State leans towards that. Chris Paul, Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and let's just say
Andrew Wiggins
out there. When you're in a playoff series and Chris Paul is not hitting his shot, Draymond's not hitting his shot, you're closing off the air gaps on Steph Curry and running doubles at him, and Klay's streaky and struggling, and Wiggins is having his streaky mode. Can that win you a playoff series right now? And I'm gonna say no.
Yeah,
it might could beat the Kings in the first round. You might can, and we can't even guarantee that.
I don't even know about that. Because I think about that backcourt. I don't think Chris Paul and Steph Curry could be on the court at the same time from a defensive standpoint, right? Mm-hmm. I just think if you play, let's just take Phoenix for example, right? We talk about who's going to be that point guard. In this case, it doesn't really matter because of the mismatch. You got Bradley Beal and Devin Booker, and you got Steph Curry and Chris Paul guarding them. They're going to go off. KD can just take that night off. It's matchups. And that's why I said the Kings, I don't know, because De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk played so well last year. Mm-hmm. What, you going to put Chris Paul and De'Aaron Fox?
And you're asking too much. I think you ask too much of Steph Curry to go out here and guard these top guards, and then you're asking
that's a lot of energy.
Clay used to do that. Clay can't do that anymore like he used to now. And then what? Now, what you want Andrew Wiggins to do it? But Andrew Wiggins is supposed to be guarding Kevin Durant.